STEM is a phenomenon that has come to stay in Nigeria. It is something that will define people who are educated and those who are schooled in the nearest future. And today, we're going to go on a journey where we'll discover what this means to be schooled and to be educated and to be future ready. Because what we're doing, everything that we're doing, is for the future. Ladies and gentlemen, I welcome you all once again to the STEM Power Conference for 2018. I'm with your host, Adetola Salah. When I got the invite to speak at this event, to anchor the event, I looked at the profile of the speakers. And when I saw the list that was given to me, and I Googled them, and I read up on these people, I felt, I wanted to do this. I have captains of industry, I have people who have made their mark wherever they went, in their spheres of influence, they are at the top. And you are privileged here to listen to them, to share their journey, and to hear what they have to say about STEM. And without wasting our time, I'll start with the first thing on the agenda, like throws a surprise at you. So today we have surprise visitors all the way from Silicon Valley. And you know that when we talk about STEM, there's nothing higher than Silicon Valley when you talk about STEM, right? A round of applause this is for pulling that in. We have two surprise guests from Silicon Valley who will be speaking to us about STEM education in Nigeria and in the US. And what's the way forward? They will share so much insights with us. Sir and madam, professor first. Okay, this is where you know a gentleman, and he said, ladies first.
I would say this is the day that the Lord has made. It's divine. You see, when God walks, He walks in a mysterious way. We've been using the same room for the past 1 week. As faith we have it, 10 of those people that were in this room are going back with us to the US. 5 of those people in this room like you, they've approved their, what they call it, their app. And we are so blessed. A professor emeritus from Stanford University. Wow. It's not every day you see a professor from Stanford. Yes. Professor Sam Haddad. Wow. The good thing about him, when he started his lecture on Monday, he wore Apple shirt. And he said, the owner of Apple is my best friend. Wow. And when I was coming, I told him that I was coming. I'm wearing his shirt right now. Believe me. And another thing, he consults for Fortune 500 companies in Silicon Valley. I call him my father. I call him my mentor. I mean, you see, Kibera. And until the day he makes me a billionaire in dollars. That's the day I will graduate. In a nutshell, let me just introduce myself. I'm very fortunate. I'm very, very fortunate human being. Your DNA Nigeria. I'm one of the minority women CEO in Silicon Valley. We belong to the same Silicon Valley Chambers of Commerce. I belong to the Silicon Valley Chambers of Commerce. We belong to the Silicon Valley Capital Club, where everybody you read about come once a month to have breakfast. Let me give it to my father. When he's here, I can't talk. That's what I meant. Can you give him a round of applause? I pray that you will keep one of it. Respect. What can I say when my mentor is here?
Please,
I'll just sit down.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Sam Haddad, and I have come to Nigeria upon her request teach a course for entrepreneurs this week in Lagos and next week in Abuja. What we are hoping to do is to motivate young Nigerians who have fantastic ideas to develop their own startup companies and build the economy for the future. I didn't know I was going to speak to you. It happened just a few minutes ago. Otherwise, I would have put a tie and a shirt and be more presentable. But today, we are actually examining the guys who attended our course. Right?
Yes, sir.
So I thought I'd let myself feel free, let my hair down if I have any, and enjoy myself for a change. Okay? So I'd like to compliment you on what you are doing. Certainly, you and Charles and the others are doing a fantastic job, and I'm sure this complements what Mama Jai is trying to do. She is really killing herself, to tell you the truth. From what I have seen, she is trying to do something good for Nigeria.
Oh.
So that is really the short spiel I have. Mama Jai will become a hero.
Yay.
Thank you for listening to me.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you, madam. Now, when I said life comes in small, sometimes big surprises, I meant what I said. Now, I'm sure we're all conversant with what Stanford stands for, right? If you're not, I think you don't have any business being in the STEM conference. If you don't know what Stanford is and you don't know what it stands for to have people like this, distinguished people from Silicon Valley and Stanford here today to address us, I think it's a real honor and privilege for us. A round of applause, please, everyone. Another thing that struck me when they were both talking was the fact that they were so focused on development in Nigeria and entrepreneurship. And if you look at the way things are going now, most of the millionaires that we're having, the CEOs that we're having now, that are making it big, are actually coming from this area, STEM. Everything revolves around tech. And if you're not on board with tech, you're nowhere to be found. Ladies and gentlemen, I'll welcome you once again to the STEM Power Conference. I'm sure you're already feeling the heat. I'll welcome our speaker, our first speaker, Mr. Joseph Aishida, who will give us our welcome address. He's someone who has already told me not to give his long profile and give a long speech, but he's my mentor, and he's someone who is really doing well in education. Mr. Aishida, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you very much, Larry. Good morning, everyone. It's really wonderful to see all the lovely faces that we have here, especially on a topic such as this, STEM. Before I go further, I would first of all also like to thank Tola Salau for this opportunity to give a welcoming address at our first conference. Tola and I, we go back quite a bit, so even though I don't think it's over 2 years since we've met, but we're practically brothers and sisters, okay? And one of the things that I find very interesting about her is her passion for education and re-engineering minds in our country, okay? Because what we need to understand, which she fully understands, is that a country cannot change without the change of the individuals in the country. The individuals in the country cannot really change without a change of a mindset. And that mindset cannot be transformed or re-engineered unless they have forums such as this for them to have certain ideas drop right into their hearts, and then they begin to think a little bit differently from how they were thinking before. And Tola recognizes that so much, and that's why when you hear her speak or you see her writings, you see it coming out with such force. And that's why I know that Nigeria hasn't yet seen the wealth of influence that she would have, neither Africa, neither the world. So thank you very much, and I really appreciate you for that. All right, STEM, science, technology, engineering, math. It's one area that we need to understand is just like Larry said, it has come to the fore in the lifestyle of everyone on the earth today. Even individuals that live in the village and feel that, well, they're not exposed to it, if they do need some money in their account and they have a cousin or a relative in the city that's going to send the money, the person doesn't package the money inside an envelope now and go to one of these transport companies and say, please, can you take this money to my sister in the village? No. All they need to do, they don't even need to walk into a bank, you know that. All they need to do is take up their phone, and then that's it. And we all ought to know by now that even the person in the village does not need to have an account to get that money. I hope you do know that. Because technology has gone so far to such a situation whereby it has brought it very close to you and I. And we have to be able to walk in an understanding of it. And one of the beautiful things about it is that technology, or rather STEM, and education has to go hand in hand in our country today to take us to where we want to go to. Because whether we believe it or not, Nigeria is actually the most successful country in the world. I know I only heard a few yeses, so, because some of us, our minds are still looking around and thinking, okay, well, all right. But I mean what I'm saying, and I know why I say that, okay? Because we have individuals with solutions and ideas. And the surprising thing is that outside our country, people see the success of our country. And that's why they come into our country so much. In the last few years, you've had so much influence or so much influx of people into our country to try and make the most of the opportunities that we have in our country. Very recently, maybe a few months ago, the Nigerian embassy, or rather the Nigerian Foreign Service, decided to make applications for visas very faster and quicker for people that are applying for a visa to come to this country. Why do you think that was so? It wasn't just to make it easy so that more people can come into this country and go for tourism. No. It was because that they realized that there's an inflow of individuals with technological sense, with the money, and with the zeal to make the most of what you and I have in this country. And therefore, we have to look at it from that perspective. That we have the best foundational potential, it hasn't yet blossomed yet, for STEM advancement in the world. One thing that we have going for us is our population. And we don't just have a population of fools as much as some people would think. We are not fools at all. We are not. And we are not lazy as someone has said. I like that. Okay? We were very in touch with where we are going to. Walk around or go to several points in our country, in any single state, wherever you have a computer village in quotes, you see youths working hard at creating certain things that will put food on their table, and some of them go a bit further, that will put money in their pocket as well, not just food on their table, but in their pocket. And some step even a bit further than that, that will cause them to be an influence to other people around them. And that's the way our youths are today. But what has happened? Most of the time, and in an ideal situation, it takes the government of the day to create the conducive environment for such things to thrive. And over the years, the government of the day has battered, bruised, and has been at battle with individuals in this country, even though they say they will tell you that they are not doing that. No. Because the actions of a man and a government speaks louder than their words. When you don't have principles or policies, in place that makes it makes it easier for the common man to step into business, to make an advancement in the things that they want to do, you create a stifling environment for them. Okay? So when we've had all of this for several years, it's been going on for some years, and it has brought our country to where it is today. But the wonderful thing about it is that we are coming out of it. Because we have conferences such as this that make us understand what we need to do. Okay? And one of the most important things we need to do as I begin to round up, because I don't want to talk too much today. I know that we have so many speakers that can say so many more wonderful things that I am saying. I'm not in depth. Okay? One of the things that we need to realize is that there has to be a combination of STEM and education that creates that environment for us in the future. 15 years ago, the plan of where we were supposed to be today was already conceived in the minds and hearts of certain people. And that's why we are today, where we are today. 15 and 10 years time to come. Where we want to go to, we need to create it and prepare for it now in ensuring that our children are introduced to the principles, the practicalities of STEM, even in the school system. You see, when you don't have children, students, opening their minds to the possibilities and the advancement of science, technology, engineering, and math, you have a situation whereby 10 years down the road, all these things seem to be stifled in the country. There's a reason why there was an industrial revolution in several countries of the world. There was a reason why the United Kingdom was called the United Kingdom, the Great Empire. And they used to have a phrase that the sun never sets on the British Empire, which meant that no matter where it is, the sun is, where rises and goes down, there's a colony of Britain there. But there was an industrial revolution in that country. And it wasn't something that they just woke up and said, well, what do we do? Maybe we should plan, maybe we should just give people an opportunity to do what they like. No. They decided that they would create a conducive environment within their schools whereby there will be thought processes along the lines of how do we make this country better? And that's what happened. We, Nigerians, in this country, we need to understand that we have to get together in situations like this and consider how do we make this country better. We need to begin to build such a desire in the hearts of children for such entrances into STEM. And when I say build that desire, it's not information, it's not knowledge. You see, STEM is not information, it's not knowledge. You can go to Google and get all of that. STEM is the practicalities of ideas in the hands of people, you and I, that tells us how to do something, how it is going to be a better thing for another person, and how we can make the most of it. Every single application today that seems to be growing and flying high are applications that make something better for the fellow man and the common man. And now there's a reason why we have billions of people on Facebook. Because the community of a village in a town was becoming too small for you and I to stay in, or even a city. And therefore the community, the digital community arose. And therefore you can be just, in fact, right here, there may even be some individuals right there, right now I'm talking on their phone or Facebook, chatting and talking with someone miles away in the world, engaging in some discussion. It's not everything that is on social media that is useless or that is rubbish or that's a non-entity. No. In fact, thinking that it is noise, as someone wrote an article some time ago and said that, is it really noise? It's having a myopic mindset of where we are going to as a country. It is not noise. It is an opportunity whereby science, technology, engineering and math can rub shoulders with fellow people in different parts of the world, whereby we have conducive and clear principles, clear applications, clear situations that makes life better for you and I. For you know what? The way we are living today, the Nigeria of today cannot be the Nigeria of tomorrow. It simply cannot be. And who are those that are going to make the change? It's not just you and I, but the children, the youth that we have to work with today. When we have situations like that, the oil will dry up, but nobody wants oil again. What are we going to do as a country? How we are gradually getting to that position. When we have a situation where we have 50 million people in Lagos State, Lagos has not increased in size yet, no matter how much sand they are pouring inside the river. Okay? When you have 50 million people, we need to think about how do we create buildings, houses that will house certain people. Low-cost houses that can go up in 3 months. Not a house that will take 2 years or 3 years to build. Where does that come from? Science, technology, engineering, maths. Who is going to do it? The youths of today are the ones that are going to do it. It's not just you. We would enjoy it. Okay, and I'm still a youth, so I'll be talking. Don't find this created. Alright? But we need to be able to ensure that passion that they have. Because look at some of the children, those of us that have children. Think about the way that they think today. Look at the things they do today. It's very different from what we do today. Especially children that are teenagers and are young and youths that are in their early 20s or late 20s. There are certain things that they engage in, and it's very different from what we were engaging in when we were that age. And they are looking at, and these things are so easy for them to engage in. You have children of 4 years old showing their mother how to use the smartphone. 4 years. Where did the child learn it? It was not on Cartoon Network or places like that. There are certain atmosphere, certain thinking that comes upon the youth today that makes them think in a better and a different way than how we were thinking. It has to be like that. Because life cannot continue the way it is today. No.
We have to have situations whereby considering to buy a car or to use public transport in this country will not be a matter of the funds in your pocket. It will be a matter of the viability of what is necessary. Because public transport will be a breeze in this country. A breeze whereby it's effective, efficient, comfortable, very comfortable. And therefore, people, I mean, you see it in other parts of the world now. You see MPs, you see people, members of the parliament in Britain, take public transport. It's not because they think they cannot afford a car, but it's so much more conducive and convenient and probably even cheaper for them. But if the cars or the public transport was in a terrible situation, would they? No. Who is supposed to change that? They are the ones that will change it by all the laws that they put in place. But who will make it more effective and efficient? It's the youth. So today, let's begin to think about such a situation. Science, technology, engineering, maths. We have to push it through our schools. We have to ensure that teachers, and I always say this, a teacher is always at the top when it comes to the re-engineering of any nation. A teacher. I'm a teacher. No matter what he wants to say about me, I'm a teacher. And we are the ones that hold the destiny of the country in our hands. We are the ones. So we have to take it. They should not be telling us. We take it and we make sure we put it in our lessons. It doesn't matter whether it's music or art that you're teaching, or PE. There's STEM within that art, PE, and music as well. We must understand that. Because when we get children thinking with some kind of attitude of engineering situation that makes life better for the common man in Nigeria, we have not started yet. And when we get them thinking like that, they will not be so much in a haste or in a rush to run abroad and stay abroad and not come back. Everything they do where they go is thinking about coming back here to make it better for us. Thank you so much.
Wow. Well, that was supposed to be a keynote, a welcome address, but it ended up being a lecture on its own. Thank you so much, Mr. Ishida, for that wonderful and insightful talk. A lot of things came up when he was talking. One of the most prominent things that I could get was the fact that he said that Nigeria has the greatest foundational potential. I think that's the word he used for growth and development in Africa, probably the world also. And if you look at it, it's real. That's actually the fact. The youth of this nation constitutes 60% of the population. 60%. That's more than half of the population. And if we're going anywhere in today's world, we have to go through STEM. A lot of speakers are going to harp on the importance of STEM, relevance of STEM, both to educators, people who are not even educators, and everyone. They're going to harp on the importance of STEM. And I'm not going to belabor that. But what I'm going to tell us today is what he said about kids and how they reason and how the children of nowadays are somehow conditioned for this science, technology, engineering, and mathematics mindset. I have a 15-month-old son. Wow, that's embarrassing. I should probably know his age better than this. I have a 15-month-old son who has it's called the swipe before speech mentality. I'm sure you know what that means, right? So where kids are able to decipher that when you take a device, the first thing you do on that device is do what? You use your fingers. Now my son is never going to have the experience of typing, of actually using actual buttons on a phone. Why? Because he wouldn't take a phone and do this. He has never seen that in his life. He's probably never going to use that. What he's going to use will be what? Touchscreen devices. And if we look at it, touchscreen devices were not even popular in this country 7 years ago. They were not that popular. This shows you how fast change is happening, how rapid change is. And if you're not on board with this, well, I'm not going to say anything. I'd like to move on to our second speaker for today, who will be giving us the opening plenary session. The title of that session will be What is STEM and Why is it Important? But before I introduce this person, I'd like to read a couple of things off our profile. Now, people that we have here today, they have long profiles, and I'm not going to be able to read everything. But there are some specific things that I'd like you to actually get. She is the first female flight instructor at the flight school in Zaria in Nigeria. The first female flight instructor. She is also the first female meteorologist in Nigeria in the College of Aviation Technology in Zaria. She happens to be a member of the Nigerian Meteorological Society, the Nigerian Science Society, the Nigerian Geographical Society. She has taught both in Nigeria and in the US for a long time. She has both been a secondary school teacher and a university lecturer. And she's someone who I hold in high esteem, not just for being an erudite scholar, but also being the mother to the convener of today's conference. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Dr. Mrs. Salam.
I have to welcome you. After being welcomed, I have to welcome you again. I also want to mention that I am somehow related to the convener. And that, first of all, I have to, he asked me to climb the podium. Part of a good teaching is that you have to be close to the student. Part of good teaching, you have to connect with them and relax them. You know, not to be, in fact, most of us here are educated teachers. Please clap for yourself. And because you are educated teachers, it means that you are ready to learn new things anytime. Yes. So, welcome yourself and beat your chest and say that, I am the future. I am the future. I hold the future. I hold the future. Why am I saying this? Sometimes if you go to kindergarten classes, you will see teachers struggling, sitting down on the floor with their children. You can't teach kindergarten children by standing tall above them. And they will now be looking up and trying to catch up with what you're saying. So you have to be intimate with them. Therefore, I want to be intimate with you, if you don't mind. But if you want me to climb the podium, it means I have become a lecturer. Is that what you want? Okay. So, I want to be intimate with you, and I want, try to make eye contact with everybody. You don't need a cane, to get a child's attention. All you have to do is make eye contact with that child. Immediately you do that, the child will shake and pay attention. So, I am more or less saying this because we had a lot of fear. F-E-A-R, when we were learning. Especially you are learning a concept that is very difficult and the cane is beside the teacher. All you do is focus on the cane. So things have changed. Children want to touch. They want to get up. They want to move about. In fact, when you sit down and watch children in your classes, they are multitasking. You can't get their attention for a long time and ask them to sit down and be watching what you are teaching. They like to stand up. They like to move around. If you ask a child that is multitasking to come and bring something for you, before the child moves from the back to here, the child must have bumped into several people and scattered your class. But you shouldn't mind because they don't like to focus on everything. One thing now, they touch a laptop, they touch things, and they like to manipulate. And when kids manipulate things, they retain it. And that is more or less what STEM is trying to do. We don't sit down and give them lecture or lesson. You make them find solutions to things. You tell them that this is a problem, and you keep things, and they manipulate and find solutions to it. So, but before then, I just want to mention that beside, I didn't say behind, because if somebody stands behind you, that person can push you down. I just want to say that beside every successful mother is a husband, a wife, that I bless my husband for giving me the impetus and the confidence, to do so many things that I think I cannot do. Amen. May God bless his soul. My late husband, my children say I should not be using the word late, but we have to face reality. He's late. So the next thing I will, just like a teacher, there are certain terms I want to define that will help us with this address. And once it is defined, then we can use them freely because we already know what they are. We know that one of the things, when you are student teaching, one of the things you are supervisor or you are examiner, one of the things they do is to look at your tech terms. I'm using the word tech terms because in STEM, we do not use vocabulary. We don't use that word. And you have to be emphasizing, what STEM is about, so that the child will now make it an embodiment. It will become the lingo of the child. And when the child speaks, you will know that the child is speaking technology. Is that clear to all of us? So one of the things teachers do is to, first of all, list certain tech terms. So one of the terms we will use is youth. Because some of us, especially people of my age, we are a lost cause to STEM. That does not mean that we cannot still try. Women in the market now, if you go to the market, they have smartphones and they use technology. In fact, let me just remind you that when we change from pounds and shillings to naira, Central Bank told us that this is the conversion. But it was the market women who discovered that they were losing money. They converted it themselves and said 3.5 kobo. It is 3.5 kobo that is equal to, what was it? 3.5 kobo. Huh? How much?
Go to 1 pence. 1 pence.
One British pen, right?
Yes,
pen. Yes. It was the market women who discovered it, that they were losing money because they were using a ready reckoner. And they found out that despite the fact that Central Bank said this is the conversion of naira to shilling and pence and things, they discovered that no, this is not what we are going to use. This is what we realized is 3.5 naira, kobo. 3.5 kobo that is equal to 1 penny, 1 British penny. And we say that our people are not technologically savvy. In fact, it was their conversion that they were losing money and they were losing commodity. So if you go to the market now, you don't have to be highly educated. You will see them using smartphones, Android, Whereas some highly educated people are still, struggling. They're afraid. You just fear. If I touch my laptop too much or touch my smartphone too much, it might spoil. So fear did not allow us to really, catch on with STEM. So the bulk of the people that are going to benefit from STEM are the youth. I saw that my friend here was, hesitant, defining who a youth is. So I just want to define a youth as used in different places. For example, UNESCO used 18 to 24 as the definition of youth. That's UNESCO's definition. We also have a body called African Youth Charter. They defined youth as 15 to 35. Then Nigeria defined youth, our youth, they defined theirs to be from 17.8 to the age of 35. That's our Nigerian definition. So if you want to plan anything for Nigeria, that is the definition of youth. But there is problem with our definition. When you lump people together, people of multi-generation, 17.8 to 35, look at the range, 17.8 to 35. So by the time you get to the top percentile of the definition of your youth, there is already 17 years disparity between them. And we know that in Africa, we always respect age. So if you group them together, it is the 35-year-old people that will dominate the scene. Therefore, that definition is not quite, palatable to a lot of youth. So you have seen the different definitions of youth, and you can use it appropriately. But I just want to mention that if you want to plan anything for Nigeria, it is 17 to 35. In fact, some churches, they define their youth as from 17 to 49. 49, is that a youth? So 49. Then they even go further to define who a youth is if you are female, who a youth is if you are male. So we are still grappling with our definitions. So that is the definition of youth. So let us, the professor sitting here, she's a professor of education. So she will define education, what is meant by education. Then she will also go into STEM education. But my emphasis about education, or my concern, is that last week, for the past 2 weeks, our allocation, the federal government allocation to education, you can see the federal government allocation to education. Let me just give you some statistics. In 2016, our allocation to education was 8%. 2017, it came down to 6%. 2018, that is what has been capturing headlines. It's increased to 8% again. So, and people are frowning and telling us that we are not really serious. In fact, some people say that the amount of allocation to education is equal to the amount that is allocated to Ministry of Women Affairs. So, just like we allocate something small to Women Affairs and Ministry, we also allocate the same thing to education. So, which means we are not really serious. However, we are educators. We are quite resourceful. Remember, I called you educated what? Educated teachers. We know how to manipulate things. Whatever we are very, very resourceful. So we just want to mention that whatever amount that is allocated to us, that we can still do the best we can with it. I also remember that our former president, Olu Obasanjo, mentioned that, how many minutes do I have? 10. Okay. I can be resourceful with that too. Our former president, Baba, Chief Obasanjo, mentioned that our youth, you will recall the age range in the definition of youth. He said that our youth, they are our future. They said our youth are our future. And there are so many things. Please move on to, let me use the PowerPoint real quickly. There are so many, okay, please go back. Back. Let me really use my PowerPoint. Back. Okay. So, the reason why, my emphasis is on STEM. The acronym. We are all familiar with the word STEM, science, technology, engineering, mathematics. There are several acronyms that go with this, but this is the one that is training now. And this is the stage where we really are. In the US and some developed countries, they've moved on to STEM. So I think I introduce you to this. I want to use the word STEM. The acronym STEM. The reason why I want to use STEM is that I mentioned that STEM means science, technology, education, mathematics, right? Engineering, So, but I just want to mention that as an educationist, we also have another paradigm called multiple intelligences. How many of you are familiar with that? Okay, multiple intelligences. That if you have your children, watch them carefully. They have different ways of learning. So some are very good in science, some are good in mathematics, some are good, the ones that are good in mathematics, they said that they are mathematically logical. They don't need to use calculator to do their, They are very good. You ask them to calculate something, before you know it, they've gotten the answer. So they challenge other kids in the class. The other kids in the class just relax. Oh, in a mathematics class, I can't beat to so and so. Then they also, on the other extreme, we have children that are very good in with the environment, trees. They are very good in going to the field. I recall as a child, when we were growing up, we had two science subjects in elementary school. Nature study and what's the second one? How many of you know? Nature study and hygiene. So whenever we are going to study, have a nature study and hygiene, these were the two science subjects for primary schools then. I found out that that's the time I'm happiest. So right from the beginning, I knew that I will be, a scientist. Because while you are teaching other subjects, I just manage to pay attention. But when it is time for nature study and hygiene, I come alive. So it still applies till today. If you watch your children and children in your classrooms, you will see when they are happiest. There are certain subjects, that bore them, and when you are moving from where they will manipulate things like in science and they come alive. There are some children, when they finish, solving problems, you give them a test. They will come and challenge you and say, make it harder. I will still score 100%. So, such children, they came to challenge us and they will score 100%. So then we will now begin to look for grammar, spelling, to reduce their mark. Yet, they will score 105. There are kids like that till today. So, why are we saying all this? Why are they moving on to still? There are children. They are art students. They are art. They are very verbal. They can write very well. They can debate very well. They are arts. So if you put A in the appropriate place, you will see that STEM can change to STEM. So we want all children to apply STEM to all subjects. We want all these educated teachers not to leave any child behind. There are ways you can apply STEM to art, music, and so on and so forth. That will be the subject of a future conference, hands-on, where you really, for example, if a child is very good in tinkering, touching things, making things, the child is going to be an engineer. You need to be encouraged. So one of the applications of STEM is, for example, we know that you can solve quadratic equations using so many methods. Who can tell me one of the methods? Yes? Yes? I can't use. Yeah, formula, almighty formula, we call it, right? Yes, another method. Substitution. What? Elimination, yes. And so on and so forth. How about giraffe method? Do you know giraffe method? You can also say, solve it by. Okay, so the point I'm trying to make is that you can solve quadratic equation by real life application. For example, as when we were coming, the youth told me that the top mainland bridge is the longest bridge, right? In West Africa, top mainland bridge. For example, if I want to apply that, if I want to apply STEM to that, I can give him a project. Unfortunately, I don't have a choice. But let me just show that if you doubt, you don't tell me about graphing method, that you can also use graph, to solve a quadratic equation, and it will give you a parabola. All right. If you look at the bridges, if you are passing a bridge, you will always see a parabola suspending the bridge, isn't it? So, one of the things you can do, there are ways of doing it. You can tell the child to go to the internet, pick any bridge in the world, and find out how you can solve the suspension of that bridge by using a quadratic equation, by trying to use a parabola to see the tensile strength of the bridge, how it is supported, why it is not collapsing. And how do you do that? The child will first of all find out the curvature, that curvature, which is a parabola. Then the child will now use tiny matchstick to construct a parabola. And after doing that, the child can solve it, hands-on. That's a project. The child will do everything, English, mathematics, science, and so on. And application, using STEM to solve that. You can also use STEM to solve a biology, to teach a biology class. For example, if you want to teach microbes, we all know what microbes are, right? Okay, example, flagella, amoeba, enuguina, paramecium, and so on and so forth. You can ask the child, it rained a couple of days ago. Some water, there are puddles, water standing. You can go outside and ask that child to bring water from those stands and ask the child to look into the microscope. Most of these microbes that I mentioned will be found there. In fact, as they are looking at it, they will shout, "Yay! Look at this!" It makes them happy that they are actually applying, really seeing, not just opening a book and looking at it. They can see the real thing. Paramecium, amoeba, of course, everybody draws at paramecium because you can draw it with anything. Amoeba, and so on. Anyway, so the point I'm trying to make, these are some of the ways we practicalize, STEM. You can make soap in the class. In fact, instead of soap, to make them more interested in the subject, you can make ice cream. Do we have chemistry teachers here? All right, yeah, you can make ice cream using boiling point and cooling point and all those things. You can make ice cream, and after making it, the children now share benefit of their learning. They will never forget. They can never forget the concept you are trying to teach. You can even make soap if you want to learn acid and base and all those things. Make soap, color it, perfume it, and let them take it home and use it. And so these are some of the ways in which science will be taught. It's not a memorization. Because in the future, what they will eat with is what they make. Hands-on. One child cannot do it. They have to do it in a group. In the future, that's how we work. That's why Japan is very successful. They work in teams. There are some children, who cannot get along with people. So there are children, we call them kinesthetics. There are children, they can't sit in one place. They can't sit. They cannot sit down in your classroom. Of course, we know the teaching method to deal with such child. You keep them at the extreme end, and you put other people, because before they want to go out, they have to say, excuse. And the other children will not let them go out. So they now learn how to sit. All right? So, okay. So, some of the things we are trying to do is that, and the reason why Japan is very, very, they are manufacturing, they start learning this cooperative learning. You assign roles to children in a group. By the end of that lesson, they have solved a problem, and they feel proud that they were able to do it. So the different children, the kinesthetics one, they will say, oh, you go and be bringing things from the table. The child will be happy to be going, moving, and coming back. Then you have verbal people, they are the one who will write the report, and so on and so forth. So, more or less, we are saying that STEM, you use all these acronyms together in solving a problem. And it has to start from elementary school. The way you are going to use it in elementary school is different from the way you will use it in secondary school, the way you will use it in tertiary institution, which is real life. They get out from tertiary institutions, they are able to cope and work and cooperate with people. Is that clear to everybody? Yes. All right. So I just want to mention that we should not feel bad that globally, even United States of America, please, the next slide. United States of America, they are also grappling with producing enough STEM-educated people. They are grappling with it. There are statistics that, UK is grappling with it. It's something that is all over the world. But, as aptly mentioned by Baba Obasanjo, if we do not start training our children in this paradigm, that our children are going to be left behind, that we should start now. Then, this is a UK, that graph is showing UK. That they are also grappling with it. You see how excited, you see how excited, that's a lesson in maybe mixed base, acid and base, pH and things like that. When the child gets the result, the child is very excited. Please, let's move quickly. Please, definitely. This is, I just want to show you the statistics of where we are saying that our youths are not, no, the president didn't say that. Somebody said that the president said we are lazy. No, he didn't say that. So, but what we are trying to show you is that these are where the jobs are. At present and in the future. And these are all STEM jobs. So we need to retrain. We need to retrain our youth, in being able to apply STEM to their work. And they will find jobs. This statistics is for US. A well-developed country. One of the most developed countries. But if they have such shortage, you can imagine what our shortage is and what our shortage will be in the future. So it is very, very urgent that we begin to retrain at all levels. That's one, please, that's one. So we need it, Africa. Otherwise, we will continue to import engineers from China and US to do our construct our infrastructure while we sit at home and lack jobs. We can't find jobs. Whereas the jobs are there, it's because we are not adequately trained to pick up the job. So I will quickly go on that these are some of the companies in Nigeria that are really interested and they are investing in STEM. That's what that table is showing. Alright? They are investing and they are in Nigeria. So if you've not been investing in STEM, these are some of you that are proprietors. Approach companies and tell them that you need help with STEM. No, somebody said, but with God all things are possible. I'm not preaching. All right, so these are some of the companies that are already investing and much more. That is, all right, so you said, well, what more or less saying that we outsource our STEM jobs. So you will even see Chinese in our markets. They are not afraid. They know what they are doing. They will take over the infrastructural construction and all kinds of things. They will also go to the markets. And very soon you will see them have tables in our markets selling to us. And you see them. When they are hungry, they go and eat amala. They buy a bar. That's adaptation. They are adapting to our country. So that is part of STEM. We live in a global world now. You have to adapt globally. Okay, so we are just showing you more statistics about different countries, sub-Saharan countries. We show different. What is blue for? Blue and red. Huh?
Distance to the goal achieved.
Okay, so we are struggling to catch up to the world. Not only is it urgent, but immediately we are not just going to say start crawling. We have to jump like frog. You know how a frog leap and jump to be able to catch up to them. Otherwise, our youth will be left behind. So, okay, time off. So, go on. So, don't say that it is only boys who will become engineers. Girls don't like mathematics. My daughter used to be like that. Somebody was telling, you are a girl, you don't need to, Then she was also believing that she cannot be good in mathematics and become an engineer. So I now grabbed her. I said, come, my child will not be handicapped. So I started teaching her myself. I said, people are scaring you that girls are not good in mathematics and things like that. I just grabbed her and said, look, I will teach you. And I started teaching her because when I was going to school too, very few boys, the boys dominated STEM. So while I was with them, they would say, if you are too smart, you will not find a husband. You continue, if you are too smart, you will not find someone to marry you. So when I meet my group, I make sure I grab my husband and say, I got married though, I make sure. So what I'm saying is that boys and girls are talented. They have the brain to tackle STEM. You have to be empowering, verbally empowering the children in your class. Tell them that you are capable of doing it. You are capable of doing it. Thank you very much. For those of you who came in after they've said welcome, I welcome you again.
A round of applause for Mommy, please. A round of applause for welcome. While the speech was going on, I was all around. It's time. But someone said you could see that she's a natural teacher. She just didn't want to leave. She was just dishing it out, and we were all enjoying it. Thank you so much, Ma. On behalf of the people in the audience, I'd like to say if we could get the slides sent to our emails, we would really appreciate it because we could not see it when the lecture was going on. So we'll get the slides sent to your email. The next person who I'll be calling up here is someone who's supposed to speak later, but because of the kind of person she is, we'll have to move up forward. Now, she's someone who's known for excellence in education and in everything that she does. So I'm not going to waste too much time talking about her profile. I told you, The people that we have here today have really long profiles, and we're not going to be able to read everything. But I'll just mention one thing. I'm sure we've all heard of TOSE, right? If you haven't heard of TOSE, I don't know what you're doing in education, really. If you've not heard of TOSE, you shouldn't be in education. TOSE is the biggest education fair and show in Africa, and that is a fact. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mrs. Yinka Ogunde.
Yes, good afternoon, everyone. Tola, thank you for moving me here, because I have about 3 places to go to today, and I just said that let me come to the one that is closest to my house first, and dash in there and then move again. I must congratulate Tola for putting this together. Please, can we all give her a round of applause? The reason being that when you are passionate about something, it is no longer a function of what you can get from that thing. And that is what she has displayed. Well done, Tola. And I'm sure that what you're actually trying to do, we may not see the returns immediately, but very soon this country is really going to see the effect of what she's depositing in lives like this, and our nation will be transformed. Well done. Mommy, Dr. Salau, thank you very much. You know, she said it was as if it was just so natural with her. She was just herself. She was just herself. And honestly, I'm almost praying that because of me, they had to sort of tell you to shut it. I said, please, just leave her, let her flow. Let her flow. And she was saying, Baba Sojo. I said, no, don't go there. Don't go there. Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished educators, it's a delight for me to be here today to see those who are actually committed to STEM education. I cannot overemphasize the importance of a conference like this at this period of our nation's history. It is something that if we're going to change the educational discourse, we cannot ignore STEM. If things are not the way it should be in our nation, it puts a lot of burden on educators. The reason being that you are the one putting together the kind of nation we're going to have in the next few years. You are the one bringing up those who will be working. You are the ones bringing up those who will be making key decisions. Let me give you a little example. Our entertainment industry a few years ago, it was as if it was non-existent. Now, every child wants to be a singer. Every little girl wants to be an actress. Every boy is as if that is the only profession that we have now. And that is because I believe the government suddenly turned and made the whole scenario very attractive. Practitioners within that sector, whether rightly or wrongly, they got their acts together and they started churning out movies. Some, you will look at those movies, you'll be asking yourself, what is the theme, what is the plot? Where are they going, where are they coming? Have you experienced all that before? It is, if we even go to that scenario, I wonder how somebody can have the same hairstyle from age 15 to age 70. It is only in Nigerian movie that you will see that. And the clock at the back of their wall will not change, even if they're in Japan. And they are telling us that this is what it is the same thing. But they have grown and they are evolving. And they have made the industry to become attractive. So as I was listening to Dr. Salao, I was asking myself, what will it take to make STEM education attractive? What will it take for every child to become something that they will just love to do? What will it take to promote, to encourage inquisitiveness and curiosity in our children? How would we go about it? Are we going to start by educating the parents? Are we going to start by educating the teachers? What are we going to do? I believe that those are some of the things that you will be looking at this conference. Because even the parents, you can't ignore some of us. I remember that my little nephew, the small boy those days is now going to be a big boy. If you ask me to wear the television in front of me, if there's even to connect it with the video and just put it together, do you know that I don't know how to do it? By the time the thing, because I put it on, is not turning off, I bang it, I do it, I give up, and then I move to other things. And do you know what we will say? We just say, we will wait till Ayomide comes. He will come and help us with this. During the Ayomide, by the time Ayomide comes, most times he will pieces this one, pieces down. Everybody will be screaming, Ayomide has come, oh, Ayomide has come, oh. He has scattered all the equipment in the house. Oh. He said he's repairing this, he said he's repairing that in the house. We all used to scream at Ayomide. Thank God the boy remained very dogged in what he wanted and what he loved to do. Today, Ayomide has been to almost about 3 or 4 countries, representing Nigeria in robotics. Wow. He just came back from Washington to representing Nigeria, and he's still yet to leave secondary school. And I'm saying, hey, thank God, we didn't beat him too much when he was running all the equipment in the house, and he was catching everything. Do you know we parents, we beat curiosity out of them. We were saying, even I was screaming, my this, what is your business to do? You have scattered it again. Look at it, you have scattered it. Meanwhile, he was learning. Meanwhile, that, he said, I just want to know what is behind that thing. What is, now that you have spoiled it, put it back again. Now you see yourself, you can't put it back again. And we will continue. So parents, also, they are part of the advocacy campaign, even for STEM education. So when you have the opportunity, when you are in your parent-teachers meeting, look for ways of even making STEM education a part of the discourse. Tell the parents what to do. Tell them the future of Nigeria depends on the kind of children that we are able to raise. And that's the critical thing that the education sector is facing now. We must help our country. We must help our leaders. In spite of themselves, despite themselves, despite the circumstances, we must choose to do the right thing. If every other sector is failing, the education sector cannot afford to fail. That is the reality. But we have ignored the welfare of teachers. We have ignored the provision of equipment. I'm sure Tola can say it that if she goes to any ministry and presents a budget for their need on STEM education, what will they do? They will postpone it and say, keep in view. Keep in view. If you go to any bank or anything and you say that you want to do something that will inspire the children to cultivate some things that will make them to become more STEM compliant, you may have to wait for quite a long while to get your approval. But if you come up with a Big Brother project, what will happen to it immediately? Immediately you are endorsed and you get it. Immediately you are endorsed. That's the reality of our nation today. I want us to understand the reality. Because once we understand the reality, it's now easier for us to begin to say, where do we go? How do we progress? As an industry, as a sector, what are the things that we need to do? So when we come together like this, there are various schools here, there are private school teachers, there are public school teachers, we are able to deliberate and to connect and say, what are the takeaways for me from this conference? I want to go back to my school I want to start a STEM club. I want to make a proposal to the owner of my school and tell them these are the things that we need. We need to inspire those children. We need to get them thinking. We need to set them on fire. We need to encourage them so that they don't all become makeup artists. I'm not saying makeup artists is not good. I mean, I love them. I mean, thank God for them. They make all of us look glamorous. If it's a wedding now, you see my daily, it is everywhere. But that's not what I'm saying. But I'm saying that as a country, we need the balance. You're saying Dr. Salah was talking about the Chinese already coming into our nation. We don't want to wait for people to build our bridges. We want to develop children who can do that and who will also choose to stay in Nigeria. The enormity of the task before educators now, it is almost, it is a sacred calling. It is no longer a for pay, just for my pay thing. That is the only thing I want to leave with educators this morning. That you are not in need just for the pay alone again. It is a call to service. It is a call to transform Nigeria. It is a call to support our children at a time when there is no support. At a time when a lot of things are not the way it should be. It has to be a conscious and intentional decision. I want to thank you on behalf of Tola for all of you being here this morning. And I wish you all the best. I wish you great deliberations, and I'm looking forward to the outcome of this meeting. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you very much. Now, she said some really pertinent things that I would like us to really hold to heart. Now, when you come for conferences like this, when you come for trainings like this, I always stress this. When you leave, please make sure you take away something with you, something that will resonate with you, something that you want to work on. And when you have those things, do not just keep it to yourself. Go online, share. So you leave this place, you make a post. These are my nuggets for today. These are the things that I learned today. Someone else will go online, see that, and that will start another thread. The reason why I'm saying this is because the last two speakers and the person who gave us the welcome address also talked about the value of conversations, discourse. When we start having conversations about the things that matter to us as a nation, we're on the path to getting it right. That's my opinion. Because STEM is something that is important. When we come for conferences like this, and we talk about how relevant STEM is, and we talk about how we can actually make STEM better in our country, we are on the path to getting it right. We're not there yet, but we are on that path. Before she leaves, I would like to present an award to her, because she's someone who deserves all the recognition and all the applause that she can get, because she has done so well for education in Nigeria that it's something that is worth celebrating. The first time I met her was at TOSE, and when I saw her from afar, I knew that this was someone that you could look up to, so someone that was worthy of emulation. And throughout that time, up till now, she has never disappointed. You know, every forum that you meet her, she always comes across shining, and she always has something important to say that I will take home and I will say, she said this. If you've not joined our group, it's Concerned Parents and Educators on Facebook, please do. It's somewhere where you can learn a lot. People from different industries, they come, they give you their opinion about what's happening in education, and you as an educator, you can actually use that to influence what you do in your classroom. I'd like to call on Mrs. Tola Salau and Mrs. Yinka Ogunde to please come to the podium where she will be presented with the award.
Thank you. On behalf of all of us teachers, parents, school owners, in fact, I'll just say all of Nigerians, we want to recognize you, Auntie, for the wonderful work that you've been doing in the educational sector. Like Larry said, Where do we even begin to thank you? You are indeed worthy of emulation. You are someone who has touched our lives in so many ways, and we know that you desire nothing but excellence for our nation. So we want to say thank you for being an educational gladiator. I hope you all know what gladiators are. She is a gladiator. She fights for our children. So please clap for her again.
So while Tola was presenting the award, Mommy came to me and actually reminded me that was something that I forgot to mention about Mrs. Inka Ogunle. She's someone who thrives on encouraging youth. She has a knack for bringing out the best in people when she meets them. I'll say this because she serves as an unofficial matron for a team that I'm a member of, the Education Redefining team. Ever since the inception of this team, she's always been supporting us. You see her at different forums, she comes and she tells you, this is what I want. Collaboration. So today, if you're here, there's someone you're not seen for a while, there's someone you've seen on Facebook that you'd like to meet, please network. Collaboration is key. She'll also be receiving the award for one of our guests who unavoidably is absent today, Mrs. Bolaji Osimhen. Mrs. Bolaji Osimhen is a multipreneur with diverse interests in the area of education. She is the proprietress of Global International College. I'm sure you've heard of Global International College. If you want to say anything about overseas education, if you want to study outside Nigeria, Global International College is the place to be. On behalf of Mrs. Bolaji Osimhen, we'll say a big thank you to you, Mrs. Inga Okunde, for receiving this award for Mrs. Bolaji Osimhen as an educational gladiator. A round of applause for her, please.
On behalf of Mrs. Bolaji Osimhen and myself, I want to say thank you, Tola, for honoring us this way. Truly, we appreciate it. And Bolaji specifically asked me to extend her warm regards. She had to be in Ibadan for a very pressing family engagement, which she could not really shelf. The first text I received this morning was from her, and she was saying that I must make sure I collect it and I must say a word on her behalf. I said I will certainly say a word, because apart from things that you see, a lot of us are actually working behind the scene to impact education. We have what we call the reformation team, consisting of people like myself, like Bolaji Osimhen, like Alero Alide Otobo, and quite a number of us deliberating on how to move education forward. And you will also see that, just like you mentioned, the concerned parents and educators, we never in our wildest dreams actually planned it to be what it has turned out to be. But we recognize the hand of God in anything that we're doing. And it's grown to over 64,000 members as of this morning. Educators from various parts of the country and outside. And that means we want to speak with a unified voice. We want to be strong enough to advocate for reforms. And those are the things that we're doing behind the scene. So you keep holding on, doing your bit above the scene, and we will be on the ground, providing all the support that you need. God bless you. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that, Ma. So in case you need support, you heard the names that she mentioned, please go online, please look up these people. All the support that you need is available for you. Like Mommy also said, she gave us, there was a slide where she had a list of companies, bodies that are supporting STEM education and even education, who was teaching, I think it was Microsoft. And you all know what happened to him later on, right? You know what happened to his school. He was able to attract positive attention to his school, and now every child in his class has a computer to work with. That's great. So if you think I'm just a teacher, what can I do? Where does my influence end? That is where your influence can get to. The next person that we'll be calling, I'd like to say something before I call on the next person. We're all here in this swanky environment, in a very lovely conference like this for little or no pay. It's all due to our exhibitors who have their stands all around and who are supporting us. Please, a round of applause for our exhibitors, please. A round of applause for them.
accordingly, we'll be having some of them make presentations to us about what they're here to showcase. And I'd like to call on Mrs. Okenifu Ajayi, who will be giving us a presentation on USAFE. A round of applause for her as she comes on stage, please.
Good morning, everybody. I'm a teacher, so you can, I don't think I need this mic. My teacher voice will carry all the way to the back. Yes, I'm a teacher, and I'm also in tech, and I'm a woman. I remember the first speaker that said, no, a lot of women are in tech. I'm in tech. I'm very, very tech savvy. Why? Because I understand that that's the future. And so you, as a teacher, as a school owner, as a business owner, you need tech. And if you haven't gotten onto that train, my stand is on that side, on the right of the room. Just come meet me, and I'll talk to you a bit more about tech. What is USAFE? USAFE is a tech solution that has been engineered to stretch your naira a bit more. The last speaker, Dr. Yinka, said something. She said, are we going to wait for China to come and take over everything before we can step up to the plate as Nigerians? That's why I'm here. What we do at USAFE, it's a verification system. That's it in a nutshell. Verification system. We verify your staff. We verify people who are picking up your children from school. We verify you. If you have a training system, a training event, I beg your pardon, you don't have to stand outside, queuing and signing your name. There's no need for all of that. Call us. We'll verify them on the go, just like that. And you get an email customized, something that says really nice things concerning you to your participants. That's what USAFE is. Now there's a slide which I put together, and what it is meant to do really is just to get you thinking. Is there more? Yes, there is. Can you do more? Yes, you can. I sat down in my office, and safety first for me is a big deal. Big deal. Before I sign on anything, and my team knows, as long as it has to do with the children, it has to do with data, I must be sure that every single person can guarantee it. That they can say, you know what, this thing is not going to get out of this school or out of this office without us being sure about where it is going. So for me, safety is a big deal. Safety first. There's a lot of us out here who say that. Safety first. Is safety truly first for you? And one of the reasons why safety is not first is because of the money. It costs some money to do safety. It costs a bit of money for people to swipe in to get into your system. For people to, I went to Sterling Bank the other day, and I was shocked. At the front office, you have to scan in a code to get into the system. Now that's something that we do with USAFE. And I was shocked when I saw it, and I was like, oh my goodness. They understand the importance of it, and it doesn't cost you a lot of money. I'm challenging you today to put your money where your mouth is, and truly, truly guarantee that when parents are at home, that the children in your school are truly safe. That when somebody is picking them up from the school bus, it is who is meant to be picking them up that is picking them up. I challenge you today to say that your staff are important to you. The kind of data that we give you at USAFE, you know, so sometimes in offices it's really interesting that somebody comes late and then you're wondering why the person came late. And sometimes you just count the person immediately. Have you checked previous data? Have you drawn the map to find out why that person is late? And so USAFE is not just tech, it is intelligent tech. Because I'm a very intelligent person. And so there's nothing that I do that I don't put intelligence into it. I'm right over there. There's a lot more that I can say, but I do understand that we're pressed for time. So I'm just going to sit there and I'm going to challenge every single one of you to come talk with me. Give me what your issues are and I will provide a solution. For us, STEAM is sustainable tech engineered models, and that's what we give you today. Thank you so much.
Thank you. She said she's a teacher, she's also in tech. She didn't tell us she's a salesperson. But she sold what she's selling. So take up the challenge, please meet with her and please discuss whatever you're having and she'll probably provide solutions to that. I'd like to call on Mr. Adewale, who will be speaking to us on Scrabble. Are you ready, sir? Or should we just move on? A round of applause for him, please, as he comes out, please. Just a short, brief presentation.
Good afternoon, educators, parents, and everybody. I got a call from my friend Mr. Charles yesterday that I was to come and speak about Scrabble today. And just to let you understand, it's about the youth actually. I am particular about the youth. We are in Lekki Aja right now, and how many of you is aware that a Scrabble competition is going on right now around Maurice Banire? How many of you is aware of that? Nobody. And the problem I have always had is, we are talking about problems and solutions now. The problem we've always had with that Scrabble is this. The youths have always been left out. Nigeria, I keep saying it, Nigeria is #1 playing Scrabble nation in the world for the past 5 years. Yes. Last year, 2 years ago, Nigeria was the world champion. Last year, Nigeria was in the finals. The current African champion is a Nigerian. A lot of them are in Maurice Banire right now playing. And out of 100 competitors, only 4 are youths. Only 4 of them. Scrabble has been to the point that children now, they just conjure words. The way we studied our Scrabble when we were learning was strenuous. We always pack papers and always scribble on papers. But these youths now, just look at their phones. All the houses are there and they are studying at a very fast rate. But there is this challenge. Mommy does not want me to play Scrabble. She wants me to be a doctor. Who says doctors cannot play Scrabble? Go to Maurice Banire now. There are 2 doctors there. Surgeons, and they are playing Scrabble. Go there, you see architects, you see from any walk of life. They are there playing Scrabble. So the challenge now is this. Please, school owners, we want you to introduce Scrabble to your schools. Parents, like, oh, she's left. She said we have to educate the parents themselves. My 4-year-old daughter can play chess because I train chess, I train Scrabble, and I train spelling bee. My 4-year-old daughter is learning how to play chess now. But you know the problem she has now. When I'm not at home, she cannot play Scrabble because my wife does not know how to play it. So I have to start teaching my wife now. So parents, it's also for you, especially the women. You know, daddy has gone out and mom is usually at home. Don't disturb me that thing. I don't have time. I have so many things on my head. Please, school owners, parents, guardians, and educators. Scrabble has gone tech, just like we've been talking about. Bring that the house now. You can even play. Do you know that I can be here now and I can be playing with somebody in Switzerland on my phone? I can be playing Scrabble with somebody in Switzerland on my phone. We do that now. So please, I want us to just embrace this. It's a form of development. How does it develop the child? It helps the mental capacity of the child to be developed. It helps numeracy, and the most important thing is that they get to travel out and they will see one we hold the numbers now. The first prize is about $5,000, but Nigeria has never been able to win that. They're always winning the $50 and all that. But when it comes to my category, it's always Nigeria. But the youths are nowhere to be found. Only 4 in Israel are playing out of the 100 participants. So what do? We are not just talking about problems. I hope we know that we are talking about solutions, and that solution lies in the hand of every one of us here. What do you think you can do to help Nigeria to become truly the #1 nation in Scrabble? Because when we leave out the youths, how can you say that the greatest when the youths are? Nigeria is the #1 nation in Scrabble in the world, but not for the youth category, especially the females. Now, anytime Nigeria is playing Scrabble, out of 1,000 participants, we find only 5 females. That's another problem. They tell them you have to be in the kitchen, you have to be somewhere. Lord will help us. Please, parents, it is time to rise up to the occasion. And it is schools where we can get this. Because when the parents have put the children in the school, they say yes. Whatever the school wants them to do, they do. Is that not what we do? So the schools should rise up now, please, and make it a part of the curriculum and everything. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much for that. I like that part where you said what is the problem, or who is the problem, and then you look at the next person beside you and you say, you are the problem. Okay. I think that's sank in for a lot of us. So if you know you're part of the problem, please start looking for the solution to the problem. Quickly, we'll move on to the next thing on our agenda. We'll be having a talk from someone who is an experienced educational advisor, an experienced educational visionary. His name is Mr. Chinenye Mba Uzoku. I hope I got that name correctly. I'm a Yoruba man, so I'm sorry if I murdered your name. So, apologies, sir. Now, this is someone whose profile I'd like to read a couple of things from. Chinenye is a passionate communicator, problem solver with organizational leadership and decision-making skills. He's a public speaker and a change agent. But I'd like to mention a couple of things, though he's telling me stop. He is the CEO and managing director of Infographics. I'm sure you've heard about Infographics. If you haven't heard about Infographics, then he was also the regional manager for Microsoft Africa in Sub-Saharan Africa, and is committed to the vision of a borderless Africa where technology thrives. So this is someone who knows what he's talking about. The first time I saw him speak was at Sose Tech. He was there to represent the chairman of the Computer Society of Nigeria, and he said a couple of things that were really key to me. He talked about the gap between what you call the private education and the public sector. So where you have things like STEM being hyped in private schools, but what happens in the public schools? The schools where they do not even have an idea of what the curriculum is, not to talk of STEM. What happens? How do we reach those kids? I'm sure he's going to be shedding more light on that today. Please, a round of applause as I welcome Mr. Chinenye Mba. I'll stop with this welcome. Chinenye Mba. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. You did well anyway, so I forgive you for. Thank you for having me, and good afternoon, everybody. I have to put on my glasses because there's so much to say. Can I just ask a question, first of all, which is, how many of us here are teachers? Right, so most of you are teachers. How many are proprietors of schools or in senior management? Okay. And how many of you are retired? I should start by saying thank you to Tola. Tola is an inspiration to me. I mean, I don't know how to explain it, but after a number of calls and missed calls and whatever, missed meetings, we finally met one afternoon in a noisy, crowdy kind of place, and our journey together started. But it took only one meeting for me to decide that wherever she goes, I will go. Whatever she decides that she wants to do, I will support her. And whatever resources that I have available to me, I will make it available to her. And the resources might not be many, but might not be that much, but whatever it is, it's available to her. The reason why I say so is that, we are in a very difficult sector in education, where every day is a fight. If you're serious as an educationist, you have to go out every day to go and fight. But unlike many people who go to war and they put on armor, the only thing that a teacher and educationist puts on or brings out is their heart. Every educationist I've ever met leads with the heart. You can then imagine what it's like to be out fighting, and your heart is what you put forward and ask people to shoot. And they shoot because whether they want to or they don't want to, this is what the society has become. We demean the teaching profession. We have little respect for people. In fact, we even put it into our language. When somebody is saying something that is difficult to understand because of the logic that is driving it, we say it's too much book, I ain't a warrior. We call professors and other people humble people. They don't have the things that we celebrate. And I don't know if you've ever seen any one of these awards, whether it's a Disney award or a Vanguard award or any such thing where they've called out the teacher of the year or principal of the year or person who has helped another or mentored another. No. We celebrate governors, we celebrate everyone, pastors, imams, everyone, except the one person whose job it is to create the future by investing in the children as they're growing up. So this event and every event that is similar to it is for those children, the ones that are crying, or we usually tell to keep quiet. I mean, if you've ever seen a parent in an aircraft, the child is trying to talk and they're telling the child to keep quiet, I'll beat you. Or you have the minder, the maid, or whoever is taking care of them saying, shut up, I'll beat you, close your mouth. You know that we start to attack these children from the minute that they are born. We who are most responsible for nurturing them are the ones who make it most difficult for them to actually realize their full potential. And it's a tragedy of our nation. And that tragedy is only held at bay by the people in this room and people like you all over the country. Because I have been in places where teachers are in schools buying chalk with their own money. I've been in places where teachers are in school, and what you call a school is a thatched roof, no walls, and an open compound, but the teacher is there. I've been in places where you can only get to the school by going an hour and a half in a canoe, or what they call a speedboat, and the teacher is always there. Come rain, come sun, come disaster, come poverty, everything. The teacher is always there. If you're in this room, I will ask you to look to the person beside you. In fact, don't even look, just stand up and give the person a hug. We all need hugs, because it's always hard out there. Sometimes you're just not appreciating it. You know, so you need to appreciate each other, because you're warriors in the battlefield that nobody really respects. And sometimes you just need somebody to just tell you well done and thank you, because the society doesn't do that for you. So from me to you, you know, it's all a big, I give you a big hug. And I want you to feel the strength that comes from that hug and the sincerity in that hug, because this is what's going to enable you to go out tomorrow. It's not because somebody's going to give you a thumbs up. I attended a conference in Ghana for teachers, and I asked them a question. I said, why is it that when I see my teacher from secondary school, they look at me and they smile? So the leader of who said to me that I should wait to the end of the conference, because she knew I had come from Nigeria, I was trying to go back. So she said, if you wait to the end of the conference, I'll tell you the answer. So I cancelled my trip and stayed. And at the end, she answered the question. She said to me, the reason why a teacher looks at you and smiles is because when they see you, they see the reason why they themselves have lived. So you will see your teacher, shoes are tired. The suit is the same one he was wearing when you were in primary school. You are still buying tire for the teacher. And there you are coming with your sirens blowing, and he looks at you and he smiles. He's not looking at you with resentment, he's just looking at you with pride. That I have achieved something in this one person. There is no other profession in this world that gives you exactly that, where somebody gives from the heart every single day, generation after generation, to grow people who have been entrusted to their care, not their children, but by virtue of being a teacher, every child in the class becomes your child. Under those circumstances, we will be asking ourselves, why then is there a country in which we have taken this noblest of professions and turned it into something that is meant for those who, quote unquote, cannot do anything else? Why is it that we have to plead for investments to come into the space that we know is critical to creating a future for our country? Why is it that governors are allowed to pay lip service to education? They build roads, fantastic stadium, they hold carnivals and all sorts of things. But then you ask how many of them build a school? And how many of them sustain the school? In this state that we're in, the data is appalling. And I don't mean to attack anyone, I'm not a politician, but I like to deal with data. What does the data actually say? The data actually says that Lagos State, in the past 20 years, has added 8 schools to the total number of public schools in the past 20 years. The population has gone from 8 million to approximately 18 million. And you've added 8 schools. The total number of public schools in Lagos State is under 2,000. And that is why 60% of the children in our schools today go to private schools, including those low-fee paying schools that we don't want to recognize. 2 years ago, the government tried to remove the list to register these schools, and the number came to 12,000. So we asked the question, when you close those schools, where do they go to? It's not just Lagos State. I'm from Abia State. In Abia State, despite the numbers that you see around WASC-wide performance, they will not give you the data that Rufai published around the quality of the teachers. They will not tell you about the schools that have no walls. They will not tell you that in Abia State as well, they've not built a single school in over 30 years. They will not tell you about the crumbling infrastructure in even the schools that they currently have, which are whitewashed by governors. And we have a president who said whatever it was that he said in London. I wasn't surprised, whatever the interpretation was. Because I can't remember in the past 3 years if this president has ever been in a school. Has he ever gone into school and taken a photograph? Has he gone to the places where you are and the places where you are not? Has he been to a place where children pay 200 naira a day as tuition to get into the school? And the school is a raggedy kind of environment. Has he gone to a place where there are, even in Kaduna State, there's a school in Kaduna State that has 20,000 students and 22 teachers. Yes. This is information that everybody, public information. I'm not saying what it was true. I think the actual figure is 26,000 students are registered in the school, and there are 22 teachers. Now, the situation in Kaduna mirrors the situation in Kwara, mirrors the same situation almost all over the country when you look at the quality of the teachers. And we need to look ourselves in the face and say, tell each other the truth. I was a relatively young man, I had more hair for sure, when they started this thing called Sandwich Program. And this Sandwich Program was the beginning of the disaster in education. Because what was the truth? It became a money-making machine at the universities, and quality was thrown out of the window. You were taking people and putting them through what was supposed to be an accelerated program over 4 years or 5 years to get a degree, because if you didn't get that degree, they would be checked out of the education system. And everybody dropped what the quality issue was and just started churning out the numbers. I grew up in a university campus, so I saw them every holiday. Thousands and thousands of people staying sometimes 10 to a room, mothers with their children living, cooking inside the hostels, trying to go to these classes, and lecturers exploiting them in the same way that the lecturer in this university was exploiting this young lady. This didn't start today, it's decades old, we've always known it. Whenever you create demand and you cannot meet with it, you have supply that overwhelms, demand that overwhelms supply, all sorts of things will go wrong. That was one of the issues that has created the situation that we're dealing with today. And today we have Nigerian University or National Union of Teachers protecting what is indefensible. We have ASU, protecting what is indefensible. Tell me, how do you have an education system that you are proud to be a part of that is admitting students in university who have scored 20% in an exam? And the person becomes a medical doctor. How do you admit children into federal government colleges who scored 2 in an exam, where his counterpart scored 185? How do you handle a system that allows you, after this number of years, we still have only 15% of the students who take JAM, applicants for JAM, being admitted into universities? So 33,000 students are shortlisted in the University of Lagos. They admitted 3,000. So 1.5 million applicants every year. Our intake never exceeds 450,000. The net result is that after 50 years of a country called Nigeria, what we have is 156 universities with a total population enrollment across all levels from year 1 to the final year of about 1.54 million. This is 0.01% of our population. We are producing every year between 300 and 400,000 university graduates, 60 or 70% of whom you can discount because they entered in fraudulently with grades that were too low for them to perform. We're graduating them out and they can't speak English, they can't write, okay? And they certainly cannot be STEM oriented. How can they be? Our country is 40 years almost with something they call alternative to practical. You're all teachers. How do you teach the mystery of titration with alternative to practical? That magical moment when you get exactly the right volume and it flips and the color changes. And your life your whole world just get excited and I did it. How do you teach that with alternative to practical? How can you use alternative to practical to light a Bunsen gun? Tell me how. Is it possible? Please. Let's be truthful. If you've never dissected a frog in situ, and you've been able to trace the veins and draw, show the veins, show the capillaries, everything, how can you say you really know what's the process of that surgical process? It's over 20, 30 years ago that lizards finished in schools. This is where we are. The question is, how do we go forward? I had a very long write-up here, which I cannot read to you, but I'll share with you later. It wasn't my objective to come here and make you sad, but I want to tell you the things that we already know, we all know. And so we have to bring them out and then ask ourselves, what next? How do we salvage a generation or generations to come? Because the statistics is saying that by the year 2020, there will be 1 billion entrepreneurs in the world. 1 billion. In the United States alone, 500,000 new businesses are started every month. And the age for launching a business, the median age for your first startup in the US has dropped to 16. By the age of 16, a child in college in the US has attempted one business. And why not? Because by the age of 3, she's selling lemonade or Kool-Aid on the streets, or baking cookies with her mom and doing trick or treats. Or the boy is mowing the lawn and earning an income. He started a savings account by the age of 10. His father is contributing to and his mother is putting in money, uncles are giving them money, and they are saving in that account. And then he's investing that in a business, and he's seeing the returns. By the time he's 14, he has already started working in the school, after hours, working with the younger children, and he's paid a stipend, but he's already working. By the time he gets into university, he's also working. He's doing the hamburger joint, he's cleaning as a janitor in the school, but he's also going to school. It is only in this country where we have the greatest need that we still expect a child to be catered for from the minute he is born to the time he graduates from school, and even after then to the age of 30. Because today, the children, the statistics is saying that it takes 5 years for a graduate to get the first job. Understand that? 5 years to get the first job. And 7 years to get the job in the profession in which you graduated. I do not see how I can subject myself to a doctor who did alternative to practical. It's not his fault. He's not unintelligent. He was just deprived. And the truth be told, in the universities today, they don't have the labs to support the things that we want to do. They don't. So, roll it back to where we are and what we must do at basic education level. Dr. Salau hit the nail on the head. It is something that we saw in the Innovative Teachers program in Microsoft, where the teacher must make do with whatever is around him or himself or herself, and create the science from the environment in which you are. It's no longer about A for apple, it's A for Ghana. It's A for camel. It's no longer white as snow, it is white as a camel. It's not about any of this. I mean, you have to go to your environment and build from your environment and create those experiments. You know, if you're a science teacher here, please raise your hand. Science teacher. If amongst all of you, if you're a science teacher, just raise your hand, keep it raised. All those who have taken their children out on nature walk should keep their hands up. Nature walk. Have you taken your children out and walked them around, taking them to the stream in the village and shown them the ecosystem? Have you found an anthill and observed the anthill with the children? Have you helped them go and catch crickets? Teach them how to catch crickets. Why does the cricket scream and you can't find the sound? If you haven't done those fundamentals, then you can be pointing at other people, but really the problem is we know we have a challenge, but we have the intellect, we have the passion. Our heart is in what we do. We need to now figure out how. If you can afford a STEM kit, use it. Buy it. Propagate it. If you're in a school, make sure that you implement systems that allow you to actually create these virtual labs on the laptops. If you don't have, there's no point in alternative to practical. That book that you can draw on rubbish. Forget that thing. If you, today, what you ought to do as a graduate school, one laptop, only one laptop, one computer. One, you will bring down the entire world into your school. You don't need two. Just one. One laptop, one projector, and all the content in the world. The entire knowledge available to the planet Earth and all human beings on it is almost virtually free. There's something called MIT Open Courseware. It is an attempt to make sure that 100% of all the courses taught in MIT is available free. There's something called the Hinari Network. The Hinari Network has over 360,000 journals in science, pharmacy, everything available for medical students. It's 100% free. You can watch an open heart surgery on the Hinari Network, free. You can download this content. In the old days, we used to have Encyclopedia Britannica. It will fill how many rows? Today, how many rows does it fill? It's one CD-ROM. One CD. One CD. You can take one CD and it becomes available to everyone. if you don't have a classroom that you can convert to a science lab, and by science lab, I don't mean, you don't have to have, you can't afford all the reagents and all the equipment and Bunsen burners and all that sort of thing, but you can have a complete virtual lab. Your children can come in and interact. They can carry out science experiments online, and they can do it over and over again. If you've never seen a 3D animation where they take you through the blood system, and you will see in 3D how blood diseases occur. Any child that sees that, you've ignited his imagination or her imagination. That child will say, I want to be a doctor, and understand what that means. And it's not about the white coat. It's about those veins. They will see themselves traveling through that 3D and moving through it, and they will ask themselves, say, wow, this is my body. This is how it works. You can watch a heart beating. You can show them all of these things. And it's just for you to want to do it. And all it takes at the minimum is for a teacher to decide to be an innovative teacher. Use the resources that are around you. It doesn't lie with your school. All the e-learning content that is being put out there today addresses these issues. It closes the gaps. It creates opportunity. But the teacher must embrace. A computer will never replace the teacher. But the teacher must move to the new mode of becoming a facilitator of learning and not the oracle of wisdom. There is so much that we can do. So much. And just like Mrs. Bunde said, we can point finger, blame. Or we can become warriors and decide that no matter what is happening outside there, we will make the difference. Each individual will go out there and make a difference. We must do more. I'm sorry, but at least I gave you a hug in the beginning. We must do more. We can do more. And it's right there in your heart. Now we have to make the head work with the heart to create this new opportunity for every single child that we come across. And from there, we can birth a new Nigeria. Thank you.
Please, a round of applause for Mr. Chinaya, please, again. Thank you so much for that. In line with our program for today, immediately after his speech, you'll be receiving an award. And I can see him avoiding what you can, sir. You're an educational gladiator and you're deserving of this award, and we, at Charisma for You, have deemed it fit that you should receive this award. A round of applause as Chinaya receives this award from Kola Salam. Thank you so much for what you are to education. Yes.
Okay. Thank you so much. Wasn't he amazing? No. I mean, okay, yes, okay, amazing. Awesome. Can we please clap for him again? I met him on Facebook, and then from Facebook, we now met. And like he said, in fact, when we met on Facebook, someone was arguing, and the person wasn't being logical. And he deduced and went step by step by step, and I said, hold on, who is this? Because I don't meet too many of us that use logic and go step by step by step. So I said, I really want to start talking to this person. So I went outside the conversation and I started trying to talk and engage with him. And I say, you know what? Let me go back and see what this person is about. So that's why when people say, who Facebook help? Facebook helps me. Okay? Every single time I listen to him at every conference, workshop, seminar, I'm always like, wow. I want all our children by God's grace to be like him. Don't you? So please, we are honoring him and thanking him today. Using my left hand. I'm sorry. We're honoring him and thanking him. So please, can we stand up? Because he's a very busy man. No, I want them to do that. Please stand up for him, please. He's a very busy man. He took out time to come here. Because this is so important and dear to his heart. Education means a lot to him. Thank you so much. Thank you. God bless you for all the work that you do. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, he wants to say something to us.
I'm so sorry. I spoke a lot. Talk again is like a bit much, but I wanted to kind of like, when Tola talked about this award thing, I told her I was not going to come. But I don't really know that I deserve this award. I keep asking myself, what have I done that could make it right for me to stand in front of people and take an award? I haven't taught. I haven't sacrificed in the way that you have sacrificed. I haven't done anything close to what it is that these people who are real educationists have. So I'm a little bit ashamed to be standing here. But I want to thank you for allowing it to happen and for the honor. I've decided that when she insisted, I said, okay, I will come. But I didn't tell her that I was going to take it as an award for what I will do later. I think that the work really is up ahead. And so I want to take this and just say, well, this is kind of like for all the people who have done. And now it is my turn and your turn to start to do more into the future. And I hope that we'll be able to justify things like this. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you. You will agree with me that that's an award that's well deserved, right? And thank you, sir, for what you are to education. When he was having his talk, when he was giving his lecture, I saw a lot of people nodding. Some things sank in for us, right? So for those of you who have really gathered some things, please, I will always keep on reiterating this. Please make sure your thoughts are gathered into a place. Jot them down. Share them with the world. Let someone else benefit from this wealth of knowledge that you've gotten here today. He talked about using devices or using materials around us. There's something called Talula. I'm sure you can look it up. I think it's teaching with locally available materials around us. It's something that's really big in Malawi. I went online because there's something I do with public schools, with a couple of public schools around my area, where we go to volunteer and actually support them. And someone sent me this and said, oh, you guys are doing this stuff, why spend so much money? Can't you just go through Talula and you see what you can do? And I'll tell you, amazing things. So you get kids from maybe a secondary school, a junior secondary school, and we go to them and we get the kids that are good in introductory technology, maybe 15 of them. We give them plywood, just small plywood, and we give it to them. They go to the Agritech lab and they cut geometric shapes, all these triangles, and we take it to a public school where kids don't even have educational resources, instructional aids, and we give it to them. So the kids in the secondary school feel good. Oh, I'm doing something to contribute to the society. The ones in the primary school also benefit. So it's a value chain. The reason why I brought this up is to tell you that no matter where you are, no matter how small you think you are, no matter how little you think your influence is, there's something that you can do to actually make a change in the system. And we need to start doing that today. The next person that I'll call is someone who, when I was given the brief to anchor today's event, I had to send a message back to Tola and said, wow, this resume is beyond impressive. It's beyond impressive. I'll read some of it. I think I should probably just read all of it. Then after that, I'll add my own bit to it. Celebrating the originator of the Nigerian National Pledge, Professor Mrs. Felicia Adebola Adeyomi, OON, is the Amazon Princess of Shaki and the pride of the nation. She was born great and equally achieved greatness. I'm sure those of us who have read Shakespeare would know that quote. Achieved greatness. She is a woman of many parts and a thoroughbred academic giant, a professional educationist, frontline women and children's welfare advocate, moral and social crusader, a devout Christian, and many more. Professor Adeyomi had a BA Honours in Geography in 1968 from the Birkbeck College of the prestigious London University, London, and a Diploma in Education in 1976 from the same institution. She has an MA in Teaching of Social Studies from Columbia University, New York, and a PhD in 1981 from the Faculty of Education, University of Lagos. She was appointed Professor of Education in 1992 by the University of Lagos. She was at various times a school teacher, a university lecturer, a professor, and was the UN Regional IEC Training Advisor for Anglophone Africa in Kenya. She also specialized in curriculum development in education, social studies, population education, training, research, and evaluation. She has equally rendered her services as a well-respected consultant on education, population, and family life issues, AIDS, STDs, advocacy, and spanning over 2 decades from the 1980s with both national and international bodies such as UNESCO, USAID, Johns Hopkins University, UNFPA, NERDC, Ministries of Education, Longman Publisher, NPEC. She is also a university external examiner in Nigeria and Botswana. All these have earned her letters of honor and laurels. The erudite princess has researched and written extensively in the areas of geography, citizenship and political education, social studies, and population education in 11 African countries. Should I go on? She told me to stop. Now, when I'm going to call her here, there's something I want us to do. Because when we started this event, there was something that I skipped. So when she comes out, we'll all rise and we'll recite the national pledge. Because that national pledge that we recite every day is actually credited to her. She wrote it. And so when I was given the brief to come for this event, that's what I do. I Googled her. And I read a very funny story online. Apparently, our children school outside Nigeria. And these are kids who, every day, they come home, they recite the pledge, you know, the school pledge, or probably the countries where they are, the pledge. And they asked her, what's the Nigerian pledge? And she came up with, what we recite today was what she came up with. She wrote that to teach our kids to have pride in their nation, Unfortunately for her, someone saw it who happened to be a mutual friend to President Olusegun Obasanjo way back in the 1970s, and it was adopted as the national pledge. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Princess Dr. Mrs. Professor Felicia Adebola Adeyomi. The national pledge, please, everyone. I pledge to Nigeria, my country, to be faithful, loyal, and honest, to serve Nigeria with all my strength, to defend our unity, and uphold our honor and glory, so help me God. Amen.
Thank you very much. The lady who came here with the professor from Stanford University said, this is the day the Lord has made. We will rejoice and be glad in it. Father, congratulations. I'm happy that you are meeting those people today. And with the Lord's doing, something great will happen for charisma for you. Before I go on, please, I'd like us to stand up. A minute silence. For my mentor, what is that? The late Professor Ademola Salam. Thank God for the family left behind, and God will bless them. Amen. Thank you very much. Please be seated. I give all the glory to God for this day, and thank you for the extensive research you did on me. I've been asked by Tola to share my experience in education.
So education in Nigeria, current state, reversing the trend. That's what we both agreed I will talk about. And so I thought I should examine as a background the definition of education relevant to present-day Nigeria, the content of education, education for sustainable development, what I call ICOL, that is improved quality of life, and VASC, values, attitude, skills, and knowledge, as the overall education program management objectives. Then the current state of education in Nigeria and the need, if any, to reverse the trend. I have come up with several definitions of education, but given the time, I don't think I will go through all of it. I said that the education process for any child begins the day the child is born till the child dies. This is traditional education. It is informal, it is flexible enough both to conserve and to transmit the culture, the tradition, and experiences from one generation to another. Informal education, with its unwritten syllabuses, enables the children to learn to speak their mother tongue, establish relationships with other people, respect their elders, cultivate desirable habits such as honesty, courage, readiness to help the needy, hard work, acquire skills such as drumming, singing, hunting, trading, farming, weaving, dyeing, building, and many others, perfected by being apprenticed to the master trainer or craftsman. Hence, traditional informal education is a continuous process involving skills development, values of loyalty, honesty, hard work, love and appreciation of man and God. In other words, good education, good character is seen as the end product of education in Nigeria and other African countries, according to Babs Fafunwa, 1974, Timothy Awoniyi, 1979, and Kelechi Adeyomi in 1981. Education, which I will now refer to as modern education, according to Wikipedia, is the process of facilitating learning or the acquisition of skills, knowledge, values, beliefs, and habits. John Dewey defines education as a process of experience. He explained that because life is a growth, education means helping growth without being restricted by age and the growth process. The growth process is the process of adjusting to each phase as well as adding to development of one's skills. For the purpose of this paper, and considering the numerous literature reviewed, our definition of education is as follows. Education is a conscious and deliberate effort to create an atmosphere of learning and the learning process such that the learners are actively developing their potential fully to have the spiritual strength of religion, self-control, personality, intelligence, noble character, and the skills needed for rational decision-making and political autonomy, useful for themselves and their societies. What content of education is desirable to achieve the goal of these definitions? This is where the government comes in to relay abstract to the practical and theory to practice. Hence, the National Policy on Nigerian Education, first published in 1977, provided a philosophy and a goal for education in Nigeria. Its stated definite objectives for education reads: Nigeria's philosophy of education is based on the integration of the individual into a sound and effective citizen and equal educational opportunities for all citizens of the nation at the primary, secondary, and tertiary levels, both inside and outside the formal school system. This is contained in the National Population (1977), page 4. In its stated objectives, the national policy covers a broad educational philosophy, but the following broad objectives apply in the context of this paper. They include: 1. The integration of the individual into a sound and effective citizen. 2. Respect for the dignity of labor. 3. The inculcation of national consciousness and national unity. 4. The inculcation of the right type of values and attitudes for the survival of the individual. 5. The acquisition of appropriate skills and abilities for the individual to live in and contribute to the development of his society. To this can be added the 6th, contained in the broad aims of the secondary school education, which is to raise a generation of people who can think for themselves and respect the views and feelings of others. The emerging issues from these developments in the 1960s and 70s are that education should foster the ideals of citizenship and nationhood, such that the learner sees himself at every stage, first as a Nigerian, thus fostering unity in diversity. In 1963, the Lagos State Ministry of Education commissioned the University of Lagos College of Education to draw up a social studies syllabus for use in the primary schools and gradually introduce social studies at that level. The level of awareness created in the learners and in society as a whole led to the national acceptance of social studies education in all the states of Nigeria, first at the primary school level and later at the secondary school level. To continue to use education to foster patriotism and nationalism, following the examples of the United States of America and Ghana, the government in Nigeria in 1976 approved the introduction of the National Pledge as a symbol of national unity. During the military government of General Olusegun Obasanjo, the head of state decreed, and I quote, "All school children will henceforth make a national pledge, salute the nation, symbolized by our hosted national flag, and sing the national anthem." This is the school's first effort to instill national awareness symbolically in the young on a national and widely accepted basis. While all school subjects or disciplines contribute to effective, positive, social, moral, scientific, and religious skills and values in the teaching-learning process, it is social studies that has the stated objectives distinct to it. I have some diagrams. Diagrammatically, social studies conceptualized as citizenship education will affect the picture below. An individual, as a good citizen, obeys school rules, respects the rights and properties of others, performs his civic duties, works willingly with his hands, votes during elections, puts himself up for elections when eligible, attends relevant community meetings, offers useful advice when called upon, is an active member of society, develops his ability to the fullest, exercises rational judgment, and maintains respectable home life. A well-structured social studies program based on teacher-student direct interactive processes should lead to the transfer of skills such as locating information, gathering, interpreting, and applying social studies information in order to gain knowledge concerning his society, to think about problems and issues, to increase for himself the range of choice, to develop critical moral intelligence and a sense of direction. All this will enable the individual to apply critical thinking to constructive action and judgment. So we have the diagram showing social studies as skill development. According to David Welton and John Mullin, 1978, at the heart of social studies lie the social sciences disciplines. This statement confirms that the social sciences form the core of the source of the well-integrated social studies program. The two social studies educators see social studies as an overlap of other academic disciplines as illustrated. The diagram shows history, geography, economics, political science, anthropology, sociology as forming the core of a well-structured social studies content. Social studies is not history, geography, or economics per se. All the subjects fused together to form social studies course content. The next diagram shows the sequence of themes emerging from the observation that each of us lives within a system expanding but interdependent communities. We see the child in the middle, then the family community, the school, the village, the town, the state, the national community, and the world community. At the heart of the model, we have the child, and learning opportunities must be structured to relate him effectively, to see himself as playing different roles within his expanding communities, of which he must be made aware by the teacher and for which competency must be based. Many have argued that social studies is a unique discipline concerned with the process of growth, the process of thinking, decision-making, value analysis, and inquiry skills. Hence, the content and objectives of social studies should include learning opportunities which reflect these aspects as listed in diagram 5. Here we see the process of growth. As the child learns, we have expansion of knowledge, network of facts, which will lead to change, modification, and acceptance, core of human beings with common intellectual commitments, a flourishing establishment, dynamic, full of human imagination and action. Having accepted social studies for the schools in Nigeria, the Social Studies Association of Nigeria and the Nigeria Education Research and Development Council, NERDC, commissioned books on social studies and citizenship education to be written for effective introduction, teaching, and evaluation of social studies in schools. Social studies thrived at all levels in the schools throughout the country. But like all good things meet obstacles, I was shocked to see social studies and citizenship education later removed or reduced to just a passing theme under civics in present-day schools. It must, however, be stated that the identified objectives of education through the social studies and citizenship education programs were achieved as evidenced by the students who went through the programs and the programs went through them. Now, what is the current state of education in the private schools? Do they continue to relate with the goals and objectives of education for social, moral, national development of the learners, such that they are educated to be law-abiding, morally upright, intellectually matured, with the right skills, values, attitudes, and knowledge that enable them to stand out in the crowd and committed to their country? If not, what has gone wrong? Who is to blame? And how can we correct the inadequacies in our education? We shall come back to this at the end of this presentation. The Executive Director of Charisma for You has asked me to share my educational experience in Kenya in this conference. We work with the UNFPA framework, where the ultimate objective of any program is sustainable development. The thematic areas reflect population and development strategy, advocacy as a political tool, reproductive health and family planning, and we have the technical support tools, which are data collection analysis, training, program management, IEC, research and analysis, and gender analysis as an approach. The framework for population activities of the UNFPA, as illustrated, shows that the ultimate objective of all planned activities is sustainable development. The thematic areas, the technical support tools, all have been shown. A discussion of this will take another conference, hence I will limit myself to my designated role within the IEC as a Population Family Life Education Regional Advisor for Anglophone Africa. What is Population IEC versus Population Family Life Education? IEC is an umbrella term which literally means information, education, and communication, according to Sylvia Cohen, 1993. Information includes the generation and dissemination of general and technical information, facts, and issues to create awareness among policy makers, administrators, academics, and the general public of important developments in the population situation and policies of a country. It may involve public information activities to advocate necessary changes in policies, leadership, and resource allocation. Education is a process which initiates each individual into the general culture of society. It transmits all that is worthwhile within a culture to every individual in order to make him or her a matured and responsible citizen. Education is a key factor in sustainable development. It is a component of well-being and a means to enable each individual gain access to knowledge and learning. Education facilitates learning and it enables the audiences to make rational and informed decisions which influence their behavior throughout their lifetime. It helps to reduce fertility, morbidity, and mortality rates. Education can be carried out through the formal education sector or through non-formal channels such as social networks, continuing education, adult literacy classes, cooperatives, and workers' associations. Education fosters an improved quality of life for the family, the community, and the nation. How to achieve this is the commitment of population education. Communication is a planned process aimed at motivating people to adopt new attitudes or behavior, or to realize existing services or utilize existing services. It is based on people's concerns, perceived needs, beliefs, and current practices. It provides dialogue, referred to as a two-way communication feedback and increased understanding among various actors. It is thus an integral part of all services and outreach activities. Communication is most effective when it involves a strategic combination of mass media and interpersonal or face-to-face communication supported by print media and audiovisual aids. At the program or macro level, IEC is more than the sum total of these three tools, which are distinct entities of the project at micro level. At the macro level, IEC is programming intervention aimed at behavior change. The term population IEC indicates those common components of a population program that deal with population, communication, and non-formal population education and or advocacy, to indicate that they all share the same goal of changing behavior or activities. Multi-sectoral target audiences and multiple channels methodologies. In-school population education or population family life education interventions within the formal education system refers to specific audiences and instructional context which require different programming strategies implemented on a longer term frame. Both POP IEC and FLE are interrelated and should be conceptualized as such. The essence of population family life education is demonstrated as concerned with family life, family size, family welfare, responsible parenthood, delayed marriage, and human sexuality, population-related beliefs and values, population change and resource development, environmental and AIDS education, gender issues, aging, and demographic concepts. Many of these issues are directly of concern to adolescents today. Hence, population family life for youth has a direct responsibility to influence them in decision making and to assist them to know that they can influence their lives based on the choices they make. The choices they are faced with include decisions on whether or not to stay on at school or drop out, their attitude towards reproductive and sexual health, STDs and HIV/AIDS, when to marry, who to marry, the number of children they would have, their family welfare, their responsibility as parents, and the kind of life they want for themselves. Again, this is where I call, that is, improved quality of life comes in. We have population IEC for youth, advocacy for special youth FP services, in-school population education, parent education, entertainment education through the mass media, counseling in health clinics, peer education in youth clubs. All these together help to reduce teenage pregnancies. This illustration shows how a properly coordinated IEC program embracing advocacy, in-school population, parent education, entertainment education through the mass media, peer education in youth clubs and counseling, and in-health clinics could be combined to focus on one population issue, which is the reduction of teenage pregnancies. Given the uncontrolled population growth rate in present-day world, education is increasingly being seen as the primary means to solve social, economic, and political problems. Though from an international perspective, an agreement to provide universal access to primary education as quickly as possible before 2015 was reached, the decision continues to face the challenges of developments that have been taking place in both the population and education fields. The interrelationship between education and population has been well established. For example, female education has been found to have a profound on fertility rates. Educated girls tend to postpone marriage, have smaller families, and lower child mortality rates. We all know what obtains today. The case of Dutchy girls is a good example. Why did they go to their schools? Because there were people who do not believe in girls' education. We are well aware of the adage, educating woman, we educate the whole family. Others would even say we educate the country or the nation. This is relevant in the sense that educating women and girls could deliver the highest return of any development investment and is a rational course of action to take in the advancement of sustainable development. Concerns like the empowerment of women, gender equality and equity, reproductive and sexual health, including HIV, AIDS, and STDs, not only stare countries in the face, but continue to signal the need for population, family life education for growth and development. As put perfectly in the IEC program receives significant attention, the problem of misconception sets in some countries. Hence, it became necessary to state that population family life education is not family planning. It is not population studies. It is not demography. It is not sex education, although relevant aspects to enhance the teaching learning process of its context to achieve the desired objectives are taught in order that the youth will be enabled to improve their quality of life, having acquired the relevant values, attitudes, and skills they need for informed decision making. Systematic corporate early programs rapidly grew, and by 1995, Africa had more than 40 programs. Nigeria also participated, and with the NERDC, the country was represented in all the trainings held in Nairobi, Kenya. The findings of the Training Needs Assessment Survey carried out in 10 selected countries of Anglophone Africa in 1995 revealed the following. There is a table, population education in selected African countries. We can see Botswana, Ethiopia, Gambia, Ghana, Kenya, Malawi, Nigeria, Tanzania, Uganda, and Zimbabwe. The findings revealed that from initial awareness of population family life in 1981 and UNFPA project started in 1981, by 1988, a population policy for Nigeria had been formulated by the government. The UNFPA project ensured the integration of population family life programs in career subjects in schools. The career subjects were English language, mathematics, social studies, science, history, economics, and geography, to name some. population conferences, training programs, identifying and teaching teacher trainers, curriculum development, monitoring and evaluation place Nigerian participants in the limelight in purposefully development and expansion in the African region. Up till the early 2000s, NIRDC continued to pilot the project. But with changes in the directorship and baton, the story may not be the same. Current state. A discussion of the current state of social studies, citizenship education in Nigeria, and population family life education within the IEC framework is best left to you, ladies and gentlemen, who are the present practitioners in the field. I would like to conclude this presentation by directing our attention to the need to carefully discuss the current state of education in Nigeria and the need, if any, to reverse the trends. Mr. Chinyere, who spoke before me, had already given us a vivid picture of education in Nigeria. So, to conclude this discussion, I will want us to think of these questions. These questions may guide our discussion. Are we really serious with education in Nigeria as government, teachers, parents, and learners in terms of government funding, teacher-student relationship, parent involvement, and learner orientation? To what extent do government policies positively affect improvement and advancement of education to achieve the stated objectives? Do government policies positively support the achievement of the philosophy of Nigerian education? Most of education is academic. Does classroom interaction between teacher and learners relate to real life? A basic goal of education should be to convince learners that they can control many events in their lives, decide to stay in school, have a focus, follow up with action, and obtain results that will attain improved quality of life. Is this goal being achieved, or has this been achieved? The cost of not providing population family life or reproductive health sexuality education are great. Therefore, the school must redesign the curriculum to avoid unwanted pregnancies or having babies. How? We need to convince policymakers that a reconceptualized population family life education is urgently needed to achieve our social, political, and educational goals. Do we all see this as basic to education in Nigeria? I am aware that this conference is focusing on STEM, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics.
Yes, ma'am.
If we look at the science aspect, we must also look at the social science aspect. Education in Nigeria must make us good citizens. Where do we put character today as educated people? I want to cite two examples. In the bus, one day, an elderly man entered, staggering as the bus was moving. A boy stood up. "Sir, take my seat." The man looked at him and said, "Do we still have people like this in Nigeria today? God bless you." And he started blessing him. Before the boy got down, the one sitting next to him paid his fees in his fare. Somebody from behind, a woman said, "Omo, wa, ìwà rere ló hù." Boy, you have behaved well. Take this. Continue to do it. The prayer of the elderly man that he will be blessed started from the bus. There was another instance of people getting inside a bus. Elderly people walked in and they were looking for seats, no seats. And somebody said, why don't you get up for this? I paid my fees. I paid my fare. He's going to pay his own. Then the elderly people said, in Nigeria, this is how Nigeria is. Please leave them. When we think of STEM, we must also think of good character. The two go together. Thank you for listening.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you. A round of applause again for Professor Adeyemi. The part about character is important, and I'm sure that's something that resonates with a lot of us. Please take that and find how you can impute that into your lessons and into everything that you do. Immediately after that, we're going to have an interactive session on STEM. It's going to be led by the convener of today's conference, Ms. Tola Salah. A round of applause for our presenter.